Mathu and Ovea here from Oru Kural, and we're here with some special speakers. So, do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Hi everyone, my name is Shayni. A bit about myself, I studied economics, politics and international relations at Royal Holloway, and I did a master's in migration. I'm 22 years old.
Hi everyone, my name is Ani, I'm 36. I'm going to say that quick, I'm 37 in June, so I'm going to say I'm 36 now. I did maths at King's, and then I went on to an actuarial career and recently moved into recruiting for the Prince's Trust. And I'm a mum of 3 girls. I have to teach my girls daily to love themselves, to not let society bring them down, to not let anything or anyone sort of talk down to them, or it's just about making them, and myself actually, like I'm learning a lot through my girls, and it's just about making sure that they're so confident in this world that no one can say anything to them.
One issue I think that's quite big in the Tamil community as well as the Asian community is colorism amongst girls. I've seen a lot of girls do this on Instagram, like, put filters on their face to make them look lighter because they think that's beauty, which I think is wrong. I've had a Tamil friend who got rejected from modelling because she was too dark skinned for like a sari shoot. So I think that one issue is to make people feel comfortable within their own skin, and I think this starts from the older generation. I mean, even as a kid, my mom used to be like, put turmeric powder on your face so it gets lighter.
But with colorism, I can only really speak about having kids and that, because I know growing up, I probably did face a lot of stuff, and when I think back, I can remember, I can recollect on certain things that happened to me, but I didn't register it as colorism, whereas obviously it's spoken about a lot more these days. Growing up in a white country, I've had my girls come back to me and be like, Amma, why is my skin this colour? Why have I got black hair? With my oldest, I think when she sort of asked me the questions, I had to react to her questions. I think because I wasn't so aware of it myself, I wasn't prepared to prepare her for these questions. Whereas with my youngest, from the day she was born, we talk about her brown skin. And there's actually a video on my Instagram where a friend at school asked her, why do you have black skin? Where she's just point blank, she's just turned around and be like, isn't it beautiful? And her friend's like, yeah, it is beautiful actually. And it's just like, without looking at it in a sort of negative way, I think it's just about learning to love your skin. If someone asked you, you've got you're dark or you've tanned, you'd be like, yeah, it's great, I love it. Like when I go on holiday and I tan, like I come home and mum or aunties would be like, oh, comfortable and that, and I'll be like, yeah, it's great, isn't it? Like I love it. Never ever be defensive about it. I think that's when the problem comes, because why do you have to defend it? If you're dark, own it. Like it doesn't matter.
I think it's so inspiring to see how, as a mother, you've translated your experiences. I think as a community, especially like within young people, we do tend to be like, the older generation did this, the older generation did that, and whilst that might be true, I think they just play a part in continuing the cycle of what they're used to.
It will be really easy to blame the older generation, but they're new to this country.
Exactly.
They are literally trying to survive in a country where they don't know the language. So they're just trying the best they can to make sure their kids fit in. And so then how can you look back and blame them and be like, oh, Amma, why didn't you embrace my colour? Why didn't you embrace my curves? Like back then it wasn't a thing. And for a long time I would resent my mum, thinking, why couldn't you just empower me, encourage me? But I think now that I've got kids of my own, I'm just like, well, no, I can't blame her. She did the best she could. She was here from Sri Lanka, came here to get married. She just did the best she could. And so instead of blaming her, I have to take that and put it into my kids and make sure that they have a different experience.
It's not the parents' fault. They didn't know, my mom didn't know what colorism is, or she's not initially trying to discriminate, but it's just educating them and us not carrying it forward.
I think growing up, as a teenager, I used to remember everything in my life. I used to be like, oh mom, why did you do that? Why did you let me snack on so many sweets and do stuff like that? And I think in that kind of scenario, you grow up and you realise how much blame you put on parents. And I think that's why this conversation on motherhood is so important, because not just in the Tamil community, because I think it's just a wider thing as a mother, that responsibility that you bear on. It's a massive weight on your shoulders to be like, every decision and responsibility and thing that I do, it's going to have an impact on my kid. I think I just wanted to get your opinions about that, maybe that burden or that responsibility as a mother.
So for me, I think the whole thing is fake it till you make it. I started off trying to sort of preach to my kids, love yourself, love your body, you know, whereas I wasn't loving myself, I wasn't loving my body. I grew up hating the way I looked. So obviously the kids would see it, so I'll be on a diet and I'll be like, oh, I'm not eating carbs today, no, I don't want rice today, I'll just have chicken and salad. Like, and then the kids will be like, oh, what are you doing? Like, just have some rice. And I'll be like, oh, no, I'm avoiding carbs. And so obviously I'm telling them, love yourself, love your body, be proud of who you are, and I'm not being proud of who I am. And so then I thought, no, I need to obviously be the example. Sometimes like, they'll cuss me, like I'll be going to school drop up and go, are you coming to school like this? And I'll be like, yeah, don't I look great? Like 100% I look horrendous, like my hair's messy, it's in a top bun, like I'm wearing the most ridiculous clothes, but I have to set that example for them. So I'm like, yeah, I am, I look great. I was like, I don't care what people say, I look beautiful, like I know I look beautiful, I don't care. By setting an example, somewhere along the lines, I started believing it myself. I'm like, well, I am beautiful, like, what's the matter? You don't have to look a certain way, you don't have to be a certain colour. You just have to have the confidence to know you are beautiful and run with that.
How old were you when you got married, if you don't mind me asking?
It's a little bit complicated. So I was 2 months before my 21st birthday, I had my civil. And then as soon as I graduated, so then I must have been 21, I had my Hindu.
How was that experience for you? And do you have any advice for other girls going through something similar?
Don't do it. No, but seriously, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I think I was lucky in the sense that Krishna, my husband, he's willing to accept me growing. I was telling you guys earlier, when you sort of get married, you kind of get stuck at that age for a very long time, because how do people mature? It's, you know, going into work, it's meeting new people. That's how you sort of mature in life and you come into your own. But then getting married, you come off that road, you're on a different road. You're on the road of, you've got a husband, you've got a household, and so you sort of get stuck at that age for a very long time. So I feel like I was stuck at sort of in my early 20s. So yeah, I got married at 21, I had Isha at 24, and then Ivana, then Melly. So I had all my kids by the time I was 30, basically. And you know, when you're just on the go, where is the time to mature? Where is the time to grow as a person? Where is the time to find out who you are as, who am I as Annie? Like, I didn't know. I went from being a high school student to a uni student, a daughter, to a wife. So now in my mid-30s, I'm catching up on all those years that I missed. And it's not ideal really, is it? Like, you shouldn't have to suddenly have awakening in the mid-30s and be like, hey, Annie's here finally. Like, it should be a natural progression. I think because of that, I will discourage my girls. Like, if they do find someone, date. You don't need to get married. And I think for me, like, again, I can't blame my mum. Like, she didn't know any better. As soon as I introduced Krishna to her, she was like, okay, like, we have to get the civil down. We have to get the civil in the diary. Again, when you're young, I was trying to pass my second year. Like, I had no clue. Like, I was on the verge of failing. And I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't even remember for my Hindu wedding, I didn't pick out any of my saris. Like, I did nothing because I was trying to pass. Like, I was trying to graduate. I can't blame my mum because for her, I was obviously young and the first in my whole generation to bring a boy home. And so she was treading, like, it's different now. People date. But for me, who was the first one to bring someone home amongst my cousins, amongst everyone, she was just like, oh God, like, this is not nice. Like, let's get them, like, official.
I think it's so funny because when you said you got married basically at 20, we were all like, what? Because, well, I'm going to be 20. So it's insane for us, but it's actually so normal for the Tamil community. I think the way that they see it is, if my daughter's going to bring someone, she's with someone, great, we have to get married because then, you know, our kind of sort of that kind of thing. And I think that kind of thinking is what then leads to people being really abusive or really harmful relationships.
One thing that I've noticed, especially among young Tamil women, not all households are the best environment for young girls to grow up in. And I find that a lot of Tamil young women look to relationships as a way of escapism, as a way to escape that environment. It's easier to just think, oh, let me just marry rich, become a housewife and be happy. A lot of people go for this escapism route of looking for a way out.
I feel like it also depends on the person you marry. Because if the person you marry is willing to support you as a woman, within your career, not pressuring you to have kids at an early age, unless you want to. But I personally believe I would rather wait because, like Mother said, you never know that person to their full capacity. And I've heard a lot of stories of people change after marriage. For some women, if they have kids early, they might not be able to pursue things they want in their career. They might have to have this standard of, I have to be like this. They might have even control on their mommy had from mother-in-laws. And I think, when you're a bit older, you sort of stand on your 2 feet. Because once you marry someone, you're also creating a bond with them, their family. You have a lot more pressure on you. People probably pressure you to have kids, even though it's none of their business as well. So I think it's really important to be financially stable before getting married. If you want to be self-sufficient, let's say touch wood if things don't go right in a marriage, you want to make sure that you have your own backing, your own money. You don't want to have to rely and be stuck in like a cycle of abuse, which with a lot of Tamil women, especially the older generation, let's say they're not working, they're relying on their husband, and if they are stuck in a cycle of abuse, they're not strong enough to leave, and they don't have the finances to leave as well. So I just sort of believe it depends on the person you're marrying, it depends on how strong you are, if you can stand on your own 2 feet.
I think when you get married young, obviously you now become financially dependent on that guy. That can lead to financial abuse, psychological abuse, and I think a lot of Tamil girls, because we don't have the greatest example of relationships in our community, I think we normalise a lot of toxic tendencies from Tamil men, and we normalise some toxic relationships. And I think that's something we need to be very careful of as a community.
I just wanted to ask you, you said that you didn't have time to really find yourself. Like, how is it now navigating life, finding yourself after having kids, after being the dutiful wife for so long?
I mean, it's not ideal because obviously at this time I should be the mum, be the amma, be at home. But I'm coming out of myself now. I'm now looking for my own independence. I'm looking for my own thing separate from the family and from the kids and from Krishna. And like, luckily, Krishna's allowing me to do that. He's not, restricting me. He's like, okay, if you need to go out, do it. Like, whatever you need to do it. But it would have been nice to be able to have done it when you're meant to, in your young 20s, and do that at that age. As opposed to now, I'm like, Amma, can you have the kids, please? I'm going out. Like, it would have been nicer to be able to do it younger, but obviously everyone's dealt their cards and you can't, that's Hallelujah, isn't it? Like, that's what's on my head, so like, that's fine. And I've been obviously fortunate enough to be able to explore and sort of come out of my shell now, and I'm being allowed to do that. But then I'm also like, it's not really about you allowing me to do it. Like, my point is I'm going to do it. You either accept it or you don't.
Obviously you were really young. How was your experience of like staying at home?
So the feminism and feminists are going to be turning in their grave, but I've always wanted to just be a stay-at-home mum. And so when I had kids, I was loving life. I went part-time, but I do think that's a combination of me being young again. I just thought, this is kushti, like I'm staying at home, I'm watching TV, I'm picking up the kids. It was a life opposite from what I knew from my mum. Like, my mum is a grafter, and I just didn't want to do that. Like, I was just like, I want to be looked after, I don't want to have to go to work. And so when I had kids, I was lucky enough to be able to go part-time, and financially it was fine and everything was fine. And so my awakening happened, and now I'm in a full-time job, and it's been a madness because it's really hard to shift, isn't it? Like, your husband's used to you being at home and being responsible for the kids, but now suddenly you are also bringing the same to the table. And so I'm kind of in a bit of a, it's my time. That's my attitude at the moment. And even though Krishna sometimes struggles with it, because obviously we've been married since 2008. It's not the Annie that he knows. So I'll be at work and I'll see the school and I'll text him, oh, the school's calling, give them a call. And he'll be like, hey? Like, as in, he's good, he's picking up the slack. I'm purposely dropping the slack because I'm thinking, well, no, I want to have my time. I want to have a full-time job. I want to experience that London life, that working life, traveling for work. I want to do all of that. And so it's up to him now to adjust his life and adjust his work to be able to pick up and do the things that I did. And he has, like, that's the thing. I can't even fault him. But I think that's the thing. Like, I think I've lucked out in that sense because I obviously didn't know that's what he would be like when I got married at 20, 21. Like, I didn't know this is what our life would become. So I can speak today because it's turned out okay. But, you know, what would have happened if I suddenly had this awakening and my other half was like, no. This is why I always say, like, when you sort of get into your 30s and you find your strength, you find your voice, what happens when your other half is not willing to grow with you or meet you or accept that you have changed into somebody else? Like, what happens?
I think specifically when it comes to like the language that we use around fathering, when, you know, dad's at home with the kids, people say, oh, he's babysitting. It's his kids, do you know what I mean? And I think seeing that like directly in front of me just showed me how we can come so forward as a society, but if we don't change the narratives and the language that we use when talking about people, like, things will stay as it is.
I think men are applauded for the bare minimum. In marriage, in parenting, in everything. They do the bare minimum. It's like, oh my god, he's such an amazing dad, or oh my god, he's such an amazing guy. Whereas women are constantly doing that. We're constantly doing that and it's just nothing. But it's like, oh, he'll play with a kid. Oh, cute. Oh my god, he's so good. Yeah, and it's like, what about us? Anyways, thank you guys for coming and watching our video today. We will be trying to push out more videos like this. So if there are any topics you would like us to explore or discuss, please do comment them down below or DM us on our Instagram. Anyways, see you guys next time and follow for more.